Thank you as always to Arirang for the world news there. We are going to stick with the big stories making the headlines around the globe. Nicolas Maduro has been sworn in for a second six-year term as Venezuela's president. The ceremony was boycotted by a great many of the world's democratic nations. They regard Maduro as a dictator heading up what is an illegitimate government. For an expert's take on this issue, we're going to connect via Skype to Fernando Jauregui in Caracas. He is a journalist who has worked very closely with big international media outlets such as AP and CNN. Fernando, we'd like to start by asking you, there are claims that Maduro won this election. It was a manufactured election in which most of his political opponents were barred from running at all, and in which the Venezuelan people were either coerced into voting for Maduro or simply didn't even show up at the polling stations. From what you've seen, would you say that's a fair assessment?
Well, very close. Actually, there has been a lot of questioning on the fairness of the National Election Council, that is the one that runs the elections in Venezuela. Plus, it's a fact that Maduro government and his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, had used government resources in transportation, financing, and especially of the large network of radio and TV in hands of the government. So therefore, there is a huge advantage in the government hands that left from far the capacity of opposition of making a fair campaign. Plus, they make a special effort to make people doubt of the fact that their vote was going to be reflected once they did it. So many people absent themselves for going to vote because they did not trust the National Election Council.
And do you think the current economic situation in Venezuela, a lot of people saying the economy is in free fall, inflation is astronomical, do you think it really can continue much longer the way it's going?
No, it's really hard because also lately many people close of the Chavismo movement are deserting, you know, from the Maduro governments. And you see every day more and more people getting apart from the Chavismo process as the things in Venezuela get worse, because it's not only the economic deep crisis, as you mentioned before, but basic services in Venezuela are really terrible.
And Fernando, just before we let you go, can you tell us what life is like for most people like yourself in Venezuela these days?
Well, actually, it's very hard for the reasons I mentioned before, but to all those problems referring to the shortage of food, medicines, services, and people can stay without electricity sometimes for 48 hours. You have that even living in a middle-class place, 40% of the Venezuelan people do not receive water every day. On top of all that, you have to add the crime rate in Venezuela. Last year, we have over 20,000 killings, you know, in hands of the human crime, and a lot of that too in the hands of many of the security forces in Venezuela. So to all the poor quality of life that somebody like me, and especially poor people, is having, you have to add the fact that you don't know if you are coming back home, because you can be killed, you can be robbed, or you can be hurt, you know, going to your work, coming back, or in anything you do on the street.
Well, it's truly shocking. And Fernando, there in Caracas, thank you ever so much for your insights. It's really astonishing in a bad way what's happening over there. and hopefully you've opened many people's eyes to the situation in Venezuela, especially to our Korean viewers. It's all the way on the other side of the world, of course, so they might not know just how bad it is over there, but we hope you stay safe and well, and thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you.